Serious, NSFW, people who were friends with celebrities, of any kind, including adult films. How did they act once they started becoming famous? Grew up with Andy Samberg. He was always pretty funny in the exact same style as he is now. He's pretty down to earth and treats people well, even when they're awkward around him. My parents went to his wedding and apparently that was crazy, big, lavish. What you'd expect from a celeb wedding. Also I owe him a Batman toy. I went to school with Tasty from Orange as the new black in middle school. She was cool then. My grandfather was in the same army unit as Elvis Presley. Since Elvis was the jeep driver for the company commander and my grandfather was a senior NCO, they would see each other very often. My grandfather speaks highly of Elvis. He did what he was called up to do with little fanfare and was a hard worker who did right by his fellow soldiers. I went to school with Josh Gad, Ulf, various curly-haired chubby guys. Co-star in The Comedians. He's always been a warm-hearted, excessively energetic guy. Honestly, we still have a lot of mutual friends and he's really stayed the same. He's just a lot busier. He's one of the few people trying to break in who I really rooted for. Some people don't go bad, thankfully. Tim Duncan. Literally. The exact same guy at 19 years old as he is this very moment. Minor exception being that he is slightly more guarded in areas involving his relationship's personal life because of messy situation with marriage. I'm currently friends with Dave Matthews. I met him about 10 years ago and we totally clicked. I can't stand his music, but he's a super rad dude. Totally down to earth. Not arrogant. Runs his own errands and raises his own kids. If a fan ever approaches him, he stops what he's doing and always takes the time to talk, which I really love. He also smokes hella weed. Molly Holly. The WWE wrestler. Used to babysit me. Well, she used to be a wrestler for WWE. I don't know how well known she is because I don't watch wrestling at all. I don't know her super well, because I was really little when she babysat me. But when I got older I would run into her occasionally when she was home. Her mom was also my lunch lady at school. Bonnie Greenwald. Such a nice lady. Nora Greenwald is Molly Holly's real name. And she is super nice and down to earth. Every time I ran into her when I got older, she would tell me this story about when she babysat me. We were playing on the trampoline and I was pretending to be a tiger. And I guess I bit her finger super hard and made her bleed. I don't remember this at all, but she always brings it up. So basically, 3-year-old me took down a WWE wrestler. I went to middle school with Chance the Rapper and he's exactly what his persona gives off. A really down to earth guy who really just cares about making everyone around him happy and smile. I went to high school with Anna Kendrick. By the time I met her she had already been on Broadway. But she wasn't nearly as recognizable as she is now. She was getting major parts in both high school plays and movies like Camp while we were friends. But unless you specifically asked her about it, she never talked about it. I'm so happy that Anna has become beloved for her odd, funny, sweet, innocent and yet sarcastic and sharp personality. Because it's exactly how she was in her day-to-day life when I knew her. Her mother comes into the movie theater I work at when one of her movies come out and just gloats and got super offended when I didn't know who Anna Kendrick was. A friend of mine interned on The Price is Right a little over a decade ago. He called me when he went to the restroom after Bob Barker because Bob didn't flush his tea. Just left it floating. Man. I wish picture messaging was a thing back then. I'd have a picture of Bob Barker's turd. Instead I just have a hazy memory of my buddy describing it and the two of us having a good 10-minute conversation of what his daily fiber intake must be. That's about as close as I ever got to having a famous friend. I worked with Emma Stone for a few years. Granted it was after she'd come into some fame. But still. She is exactly how you see her on interviews. She's humble, hilarious, and down to earth. She treats everyone as if they're her equal and she's never met a stranger. I know one of the stars from Silicon Valley. He is still the same old hilarious dude he always was. Nice to see him having success. I'm gonna say Thomas Middleditch because the rest of the cast was already pretty famous from other projects. I went to college with Adina Menzel. Nicest girl you could ever meet. Still is. Do you mean Adele Dazeem? My old co-worker is now a TV director. Now all I hear from him is when he sends out mass texts asking for money for his next project. I went to high school with Michael Phelps. I can't claim we were friends, but he did sit next to me for a year in US government class. He was always nice to me and would make polite conversation before class. We were 100% in different social circles. I was shy nerdy, and as you can guess he was popular and well liked. This was around the time of his first run at the Olympics. I remember our school made a huge deal about it and declared Michael Phelps Day. He seemed a bit embarrassed by it all. He was a nice kid. A bit fidgety and bored in class though, but who wouldn't be? Played baseball with two guys growing up that ended up in the majors. I haven't heard from or seen the one since he got signed, but the other one actually comes in all the time. He's a relief pitcher for the Nationals now. He has been with about 6 teams now. He's not a big name guy but makes money doing what a lot of people dream of. He doesn't have a 7-figure deal but makes around $500K a year and hasn't changed a bit. He just recently bought a house because he got married and is expecting a kid. My friend is Chris Pratt's nephew. He grew up in my hometown, which the media likes to pretend is some quaint redneck town stuck in the past. Hint. It's not. Comma from what he's told me. Chris is pretty much the same exact guy he is in interviews as he is in real life. Genuinely nice guy. Sometimes he just stops by his nephew's house to say hi in between movies. Maybe I'll meet him someday. Also, my sister used to live next to his mom until my sister moved. Small world. Knew Buster Posey in college. He was a great guy back then. Super chill. But laser focused on baseball and confident. But not cocky. Haven't talked to him in quite a while. But I remember seeing him after he had basically realized he was going to make it, which is very far from a given in baseball. Regardless of being drafted 5th overall, and he was excited more than anything. Really good dude. Deserves what he has because he works his ass off. I went to high school with that guy who got high on bath salts and ate a homeless man's face a few years back. I played high school football with Aaron Hernandez. He completely changed when he got famous. Went to middle school with Selena Gomez. She was actually a real good friend of mine. She was very sweet and was just doing small gigs back then like a Joe's Crab Shack commercial. I tried once to write her. To congratulate her on Get Success back when she was on the Disney Channel. No response. Was a great friend and awesome lunch buddy. To be fair, she probably never saw the letter. Went to high school with, and was bullied by, a girl who went on to be a model on Project Runway. She was an entitled bitch in high school. Continued to be an entitled bitch, while hiding behind a public persona, once she was on the show. And as far as I know, might still be an entitled bitch. Last I heard, she was some millionaire's trophy wife. But hey, she put me within 3 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So I can be grateful for that. I'm good friends with Lord Ella, and she hasn't changed at all. She still wants to be treated like a normal kid. I saw her at my friend's house party and she was treated as was one of the kids on the block. Removed. My family is good friends with Carol Spinney, the original actor who played Big Bird. And Oscar. He has always been super nice to everyone I've seen him talk to, including me. He is an older gentleman who enjoys traveling outdoors and collecting items from around the world. I used to do landscaping jobs on his property for him when I was younger. He has a nice chunk of property with 8 ponds. Items from across the world. And even a recreation of Stonehenge on it. He is retired now, but still throws friend and family parties every year. During the parties, kids will beg to hear his Big Bird voice. And he gives every kid a free toy in his toy shop, a collection of toys from around the world. He also always throws a puppet show which includes Oscar, if he can borrow it from the studio, and a few other puppets he owns. When Oscar is brought into the puppet show, he says hi to all of the little kids at the party. Oscar still says my name every year even though I am 21 now. Went to high school with Sasha Grey, parent star. She was a mellow girl. Smoked a lot of weed. She was super cool about me messaging her on MySpace when she became famous. I was friends with the kid who played Rico in Hannah Montana, Moises Arias, in elementary school. He was one of the chillest kids in school back then. But now he's a complete douche. That kid looks like a goblin of some sort. I went to high school with Larry Nance Jr. Now he got drafted to the Lakers. Pretty much the same guy. Can be okay. Can be a douche. I just remember his mom yelling at him in elementary school for not helping clean up after class party. I knew a kid that was a popsicle model for Bluebell. He was 5 years old at the time and didn't seem to enjoy the work. Does Lindsay Stirling count? She isn't really super famous, but well known. This is a pretty weak one maybe, but I remember sending Ludacris an email. He had his email address on his website, shortly after hearing What's Your Fantasy on a local NC hip hop radio station for the first time. Telling him how much I loved the track and how I couldn't wait for a whole album. He responded with a very grateful email talking about how much the praise meant. And how cool it was that the single was starting to get some traction. This was in the summer of 1999. I'm pretty sure. Tommy Chong babysat me once when I was a kid. I have 2 pictures of me sitting in his lap. One is a 10-year-old and one is a 28-year-old. He's a super cool, very nice guy. Taylor Lautner was my friend through middle school and into high school. He was already in the movies and such when he came to our school, but he was always super nice. He added me on Facebook after I moved away, but when I went to show someone after Twilight had come out, he had deleted his Facebook. At that age I felt slighted, but now I realize he likely had to keep his personal info a little safer. Ashley Teasdale graduated from my high school as well, but she was a few years ahead of our grade. There's probably a few more people I'm missing, but those 2 are pretty notable. Edit. The younger son from the George Lopez show went to high school with me as well. Used to skate with him a bunch. Down to earth guy. I grew up with Maddie Bowman. Halfpipe skiing Olympic gold medalist. She is considered the best female halfpipe skier in the world. Fame has not changed her at all. She is still the quiet, nice, down to earth girl she has always been. I still ride with her when she comes home. Edit. Whoa. Stoked about all this karma and even more stoked about the amount of redditors that knew her too. SLT pride. Grew up family friends with Win and Will Butler of the Arcade Fire. They are great guys. We used to sneak the boozy eggnog at our parents' holiday parties when we were kids. They still send invites to shows. Just don't see them much anymore. I knew Macklemore as a teenager. We had lots of mutual friends and hung out quite a few times. But were never particularly close. I spent enough time with him to have a few embarrassing stories to share. I didn't pay him much attention because he bullied my brother at school. He was a run-of-the-mill. Not super popular but not unpopular. Average semi-douchey. Cocky teenager. Didn't stand out much. It seems like he did the normal thing douchey teens do and grew out of it into a decent guy. Anyway, I'm glad he's become so successful. You and your brother should start a group called Macklemores to show him a thing or two. I went to high school with Milan Lucic. The guy is exactly as douchey as he looks acts now. I know Playboy bunny Chloe Terry Thompson from high school. She had transferred into the school and was immediately given the name P Runster Girl, and she looked the part. She got a boob job after a few months. And weeks after that dropped out. She's just as obsessed with money, makeup, and fame as she was in grade 10. Frankly. My uncle has become a solid C+. Maybe even a B in Hollywood. He still gets his kicks rummaging through and finding clothes in vintage shops. But he has all this money now. So instead of bumming around town, he bought a mansion in another country and spends his time jet setting around the world. Also, his dog travels first class with him. And he got the dog from the pound in another country. What the hell? Every other person answering the question just up and names their relative on Reddit? Am I too paranoid or something? Eddie Murphy? Tickle. The guy from Moonshiners and had his own spin-off for a bit isn't really a friend. But we've hung out at parties and bars a couple of times. I can say with all honesty he's the same piece of shit in person that he is on television. I was best friends with Magic Card, a scrap kid in high school. Not surprised in the slightest. He's probably the same F-kin dude. Not a real celebrity. But my girlfriend was good friends with Todd Herzog, the winner of Survivor China. Apparently, after he won, he became a huge tool and alienated every friend he had before going on the show. I went to high school with Dave Franco. He was a dick. Also he's like 5 foot nothing. Also I went to art school with Heather from America's Next Top Model. At first she was just this really tall, really attractive girl who walked everywhere kinda fast and had a bit of a cold attitude about her. It turns out she has Asperger's. After she came back from doing the show she seemed a lot friendlier with everybody. Last time I saw her she was making the motorcycle from Akira in the mire. I made her laugh with some lame game design jokes. So that was cool. TLDR. I am a man of average height. Went to high school with someone who became a WWE wrestler in the last 8 years. You can come up with any cliche tired line about how nice, funny, and great he was and it would actually all apply to him. The dude was f***ing awesome, hilarious, and genuinely great to be around. Even damn near every teacher loved him. Shitty. I can't actually remember anyone who didn't like him. Removed. My oldest friend's little brother is the star of a pretty popular TV show on True TV. Not hugely famous, but he's on his way. Still the same cool, wacky, funny guy that I've known forever. Impractical Jokers. I went to high school with 2 dudes who are now insanely popular on YouTube. They are super down to earth, nice, humble, and hardworking. They don't act like they're better than anyone else. I never would have picked these 2 for such great success in what they do. But it couldn't have happened to 2 nicer people. Proud to call them friends. Edit. Holy moly. My inbox. I kind of forget how popular these guys are sometimes. All I came here to do was let the internet know that they're really kind people who haven't let an iota of their fame go to their heads. Out of respect for them and their privacy, I'm not disclosing anything else about them. Besides, I'm sure you can find whatever you want to know about them online somewhere else. Smosh. Justin Bieber. My younger brother went to high school with him and he came over to our house once. Flashback to grade 9. Justin and my brother decided it would be a good idea to play in a puddle that was right beside a house that was being built. My brother told me that he stripped down into his boxers and jumped in this puddle and stepped on a nail. He went home and my mom got a nasty phone call from his mother saying that he wouldn't be coming over again. He was a bad kid before he got famous. Was very cocky and bragged about a lot of things. A lot of people in our town didn't like him and created a bad reputation for himself. I remember he was on the city bus with me and the kid beside him said, "This guy is going to be famous one day. Good for him for doing what he does. He is obviously very successful. But to me, he will always be the same person he was back in the day." Graduated with Audrey Batoni. She was a very nice person. I went to high school with Kanye. It was a quasi-gifted school in a middle-class suburb. He was just a normal kid like the rest of us. Part of the admissions process for this school was demonstrating a skill in one of the humanities. Both mine and Kanye's were art. But that and gym were the only classes we shared. He was talented and creative in a lot of things in that class, as was I actually. But he was kind of a schlep in gym class. Though it's not super fair of me to say that since I was among the few who played sports for my home school, where after I graduated Dwayne Wade went actually. Contrary to his image. I've heard he treats fans very well. His dislike is basically confined to the media. I used to work out with JJ Watt, Texans defensive end. Super hard working dude. Super positive. Although I don't really know how he is now. My last conversation with him was help on some economics homework in college. My cousins went to high school with Justin Bieber. They said he was a douchebag even before he was discovered. Then they just stopped seeing him. I'm not sure if she's necessarily famous. But she's definitely well known, at least on Instagram. I went to high school with Nikki Heaton and she was a year younger than me. She was kind of full of herself before she became famous. But now she's even more so. I'm not sure when she felt like she was an ugly duckling because she always used to post Instagram selfies with about 50 hashtags like pretty hot pretter girl swag etc. She also used to annoyingly self-promote her YouTube account with her boyfriend at the time. Ask anyone in my graduating class, her graduating class, and maybe a couple years around us, and they most likely say that she's incredibly annoying and or that we're 100% over everyone being obsessed with her ass. Extended family with Miranda Cosgrove. She's still as nice and sweet as always. And was always a humble person even as a little girl. I don't see her much since we live pretty far apart. But to this day we bounce music ideas off each other every once in a while. Funny story. One time she got way offended when I told her a song sucked, not going to name which song. And wouldn't believe me until her mom told her the exact same thing. Hahaha, she's a funny lass. Went to school with Torrey Smith, who plays for the 49ers now. Dude was a dick and attempted to bully me on several occasions. Was very full of himself and had his ass kissed by most people. Arkady Abramovich. Son of Roman Abramovich. Went to the same school as me. He was such an asshole. Stuck up kid. His dad Roman is owner of Chelsea FC and Russian oil billionaire. He's somewhat famous because he, Arkady, now runs a business worth a ton and is looking to buy a professional football team. Deleted. Jonathan Sadowski. I asked my mom. She went to high school with Nathan Fillion. Met him again recently. Said that he was a really cool guy in high school. He's still awesome. Interestingly enough, his brother was apparently the sort of rebellious teen who got into trouble lots at school. He's a principal now. I never met her personally. But I knew a guy in college who went to high school with Taylor Swift. Said she was kinda stuck up and got obnoxious after her music started getting big. Told me about a time they had a party that she wasn't invited to. So she showed up outside with her album blasting from her car. She's known to be a bit spiteful hoe. My mother used to babysit for Bon Jovi long before he was famous. She said that he wore cowboy PJs and only ate Cheerios. She encountered him years later and mentioned it to him and he just laughed. He somewhat remembered. He does nothing for his hometown though. Which is very sad. I'm not counting Sandy. Before that nothing. Famous people required to do something for their hometown? I kind of know a certain New Zealander pop musician. Internet friends. She didn't really change. Yeah. Close friend of mine was the lead singer of a very popular alternative rock band. Replaced the original deceased lead singer. Starred in music videos and toured. He answered the phone whenever I called. And when he was in town, we would hang out. As his popularity grew, he got tunnel vision and we would hang out less. Eventually, he stopped answering the phone altogether. The last I talked to him, he stated that everyone needed something from him. Be it money, a picture, an interview, an autograph, etc. No one would ever ask him, "How are you?" It was always about the other person. So he just cut everyone out of his life. Edit. Out of respect for my friend and how he used to confide in me. I don't want to identify him. However, I will say that a couple of you did identify him correctly. I went to an all-boys school and our sister school housed Lady Gaga, so she would come over to participate in our plays. I was in the band, so I had to practice with her. She was a bitch. A total bitch.